Hello, divine, beautiful souls. This is Energy Speaks Podcast with your host, Catriel. So, this episode is called Riding the Wave of Consciousness. What is the wave of consciousness? The wave of consciousness to me is identifying your the different paths that we choose on this journey. Imagine yourself on a surfboard in the ocean. And you're waiting to get on a wave, but you have a choice on which wave to get up on. Now, this wave is essentially a wave of consciousness. We can choose the wave that allows us to get up and fuel us for the day. The wave that lights up our heart and our soul and is essentially feeding a deeper aspect to ourselves. Or we can choose a wave that essentially we're fighting ourselves. And that wave is totally valid as well. You always have a choice in the matter. So the other day, I was listening to a video by Joe Dispenza. And it's called it's off of Gaia TV, and he was talking about rewiring, and he started off by going into the sciences of essentially um, our stressors, and that there's three different types of stressors, and one stressor is like our physical stress on our body. The second stressor is like the emotional and like relationships and different things like that. And then there's like the mental stressors, sitting in traffic and like kind of thinking through solutions, maybe our our bank's, situation. And all of these cause a certain level of stress in our body. So what happens when our being comes in contact with stress? Well, uh, certain chemicals within our body are released. So we have what is called a sympathetic nervous system. And when this is activated, these chemicals are released. And so imagine that we're, you know, uh, in a state of this parasympathetic, sorry, or sympathetic nervous I am struggling to speak today. This sympathetic nervous system, right? Okay, so it's releasing these chemicals and it puts us into this like fight or flight type of mode. And so say we're in this for 10 minutes and our body when we're in this state essentially, this is not like a time where we're relaxing on sitting and eating food, and actually you shouldn't. It's actually when our body and our blood and our heart is beating super fast because we need to get through that situation, and it's our body's way of protecting us. But the flip side is when we exit that state, we go into the parasympathetic nervous system where it starts to repair. And so, in an ideal world, we enter that 10-minute period and we exit into a 10-minute period of parasympathetic, and it restores the homeostasis in our body, and all is well and all is good. But life is not necessarily like that. And ironically, what if our body, we get into a situation where we have a stressor and it's 10 minutes, okay? But then we get into the parasympathetic nervous system again for 2 minutes, and then we're back in to this high level beating of our heart, and we just never get on the same rhythm of restoring and finding balance and equilibrium. That's a problem. So, going along this even deeper, when that happens, we we start to get used to this chemical that's releasing in our bodies, and we actually start to get addicted to this chemical, and then we start attracting in situations that release this chemical to get us in this fight or flight mode, and we start to attract these situations that are not healthy for us. So then it's this spiral. So how do we do that's a wave of consciousness where we're fighting ourselves. How do we get on the other wave? The other wave of consciousness where we begin to live our heart and our soul's dream and make it a reality. How do we catch that wave? And sometimes you have to fight upstream to get to that wave. So I invite you to start feeling into one, what brings you joy? What lights your heart and your soul up? What's that thing that gives you purpose? Something that you deeply connect with. I challenge you to start noticing those things in your daily life. Maybe it's art, maybe it's music, maybe it's astrology, human design, maybe it's mathematics or science. So that's one thing, is identifying, having an awareness of what feeds this wave of consciousness that you really want to be in. Now, the second thing is our daily routines. This is huge. What brings you back into homeostasis? So, we already identified some aspect of us that lights up our heart, right? But if we only just do that, identify it, and we don't actually put it into our life, then what's the purpose? So I, I I invite you again to tune in and allow yourself to to do one thing for yourself today, okay? One thing that fills up your heart, that uh, puts a pep in your step. Do something for yourself. Then I ask you to take it a little bit further. Commit to 1 week of doing something for yourself every single day. Now, you're not limited if you take this, of course, you're not limited to that one time, but that's the bare minimum, okay? Again, life gets in the way. So even if you commit today and you do that one thing, but you forget tomorrow, it's okay. Have compassion for yourself. That's part of the process. But I ask you, if you do forget, identify, did that make your day better or did it make it worse? Did it have any effect on you? Notice what stresses, were coming in or if there were stresses at all. Now, I want to bring one other aspect in. So, what I'm noticing is when I'm coming out of dream time, that that is the most significant time where we're really, really aware. So, like, you have like this deep, deep sleep, right? Where maybe you're like one with the universe, maybe you're astral traveling, you're actually surfing in your dream. Who knows? And then you have you start to come out of this bigger picture aspect, right? Little by little to where you can maybe even be halfway in your dream and halfway aware of what's going on in your physical universe, like in your body. This is the moment of time. The words that we say or the thoughts we think, the emotions we're feeling, the channel that we have, these are like significant moments of how we start our day. I invite you to find a mantra, something that resonates with you, words, or maybe even like an in moment conversation with a higher power or whatever that is for those moments, or maybe just breathing in to this awareness and whether that changes your day at all. I'll share with you a practice that I've been doing for quite some time, and it's called the prayer of Modéani or Modani if you're a female, or if you want to unite with your both your masculine and divine masculine, divine feminine, you can say both. So this is a practice that as Jews we say every single morning, and I'm gonna read from my Siddur, my prayer book, in Hebrew, and what the translation is in English, and what my take is on it a little bit, and how I wake up, and how that affects my day, and how that affects my day when I don't do it. Because it's obviously there's days that we just grab our phone, and that's not necessarily the healthiest thing, but it happens. It says, "Modeh ani lefanecha, melech chai vechayam, shechazarta bi nishmati, bechemla Rabam emunateka. Modea ni literally means thankful I am before you, King, who is living and ever enduring. For you have restored within me my soul. With mercy, great is your faithfulness. Now, like, regardless of if you have a, a faith or a higher power or believe in energy or science, just imagine yourself that when you're coming out of dream state and you notice that you're starting to come into your body like we were talking before, and there's something that's way bigger than you, a state of consciousness that you've accessed, and start realizing that you're kind of separating from this bigger picture type of aspect, and the details are coming in more clearly in your physical being, in your human being. And you start to realize that you're human again, that you have a mind, that you're a self, and you're you have a stream of consciousness that's bigger than you, and a state of consciousness of you, the individual. How amazing that is that we can actually experience this epic, like, consciousness, and that there's a soul there, that it can travel to many places, and maybe in some reality, you're still there and able to take these journeys, and sometimes you even remember them. But that same soul comes into your body, and you're able to breathe and take that first breath as if you took the first breath when you were born, and how grateful you are to be alive for this very day, and how every single time you go to sleep, it's actually a state of faith of you waking up, because it's not guaranteed to you. It's it's by grace that you're able to wake up and start another day. Not everybody has this. When we can recognize that and realize how powerful that is, and we wake up with this state of gratitude, and we start seeing things in a new way, as if our next breath is not just handed to us, but it's a privilege in a way. It's not necessarily guaranteed. You can start to reshape the world you want to live in, because you're starting off from a place of gratitude for your existence. And then maybe for me, what I do is I like to start naming things I'm grateful for. And I've noticed when I do this, even if I don't get to the grateful, the 10 things of gratefulness in that specific time, sometimes I have to start getting ready or whatever. Um, Sometimes I save that for my walk on the way to school. But to create an experience with it that connects with you, and maybe it's not the same every single day, but if you're experiencing something that's of true value, it starts to stick, and it starts to to integrate into your essence, and that's how we start shifting things. We start saying, "Oh, that's what healthy means. That's what it means to live my joy." And those little tiny things become big things. And then we start to smile a little bit more. And as we're on our walk in the morning and we see a person, we smile naturally because we're in a state of joy. And maybe they give you a smile back. And you start to change the world little by little because you consciously chose joy at the very beginning of your day. And then we start to change the world. We start to change the vibrations. And those vibrations coming together, we start changing frequencies. And then we start to see major shifts and changes in a large way. A, a consciousness that maybe wasn't even awareness to us a month ago or even a day ago. What wave of consciousness are you choosing to ride? So that is my words of wisdom for today, and I'm so grateful. I just want to say this is the first podcast I'm doing here from Israel after my physical move of making Aliyah and working with different technologies and being patient and asking and finally allowing myself to receive, to be able to put this in practice. And I will say it's funny because yesterday I spoke this podcast out and I had the mute button on the entire time. And then I realized, oh wow, this is actually the third time I've spoken this out. And I needed to hear these words of mine. I hope they resonated with your heart and I hope they resonated with your soul. I love you all, divine, beautiful souls. This is Energy Speaks Podcast with your host, Catriel. Shalom.